Hi everyone, I'm Tanaaz from foreverconscious.com and this is your weekly energy forecast for the week of July 9th. So we are sort of sitting in a sweet spot at the moment in our cosmic skies. It is a quiet week. We don't really have a lot of big energy going on this week, and we're kind of invited to also slow down, to also find a sweet spot for ourselves, maybe make time for some rest, some relaxation, for tuning in and just connecting with what our mind, body, and soul might need. It's actually a really good week, especially in the first part of the week, to focus on nourishment and just gentle self-love, gentle self-care. How can I nourish myself? How can I care for myself? How can I take even just a moment to check in and see what I need, see what will bring me a little more satisfaction, a little more joy, a little more peace, and then making steps to give that to yourself. So it's a good week to just practice a little bit of gentle self-care and self-nourishment. As we get to the end of the week and kind of in the next 2 weeks to come, we have a lot of change. And as we get to the end of this week, we may start to feel it. The next 2 weeks of July bring a lot of shift and big cosmic events. So as I mentioned, we're kind of in this sweet spot at the moment. These big cosmic events and this change that's on the way, a lot of it is very reflective energy that's coming in. And when we have a lot of reflective energy like this, we can sometimes feel a little bit stuck or stagnant, or that we're trying to push ahead and we just can't. There's just too much stuff that needs to be figured out before we can. That is a lot of the energy that's on the way. So knowing that we have some sticky, stagnant energy on the way, you can also use this week to get those projects off your plate, the things that you don't want to feel stuck with, the things that you don't want to stagnate on, getting projects, started to square them away, finish them up. Of course, you don't want to push or force anything. If you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. But if there is something that you want to wrap up and start to complete or make a little more headway in, this is also a good week to do that. Because as I mentioned, coming up in the next 2 weeks, we have a little bit of this slowdown energy that will be forcing us to really go within. And when that happens, trying to do things on an external level, trying to move forward on an external level tends to be not impossible, but just a little more difficult, a little more challenging, because we're really being guided to go within, reorganize what's inside first before we can move ahead. So as that energy, is increasingly going to build, we want to use this time now where it's not as much, of that energy happening. We want to use this time now to take those outside steps, to move forward in our external world on the things that we want to move forward with. So that's something else to keep in mind this week. As we get to the end of the week, we might start to feel some of the shifts and changes that are on the horizon, and I'll run through them quickly just so you know. We have the lunar nodes changing signs and the Cancer new moon that falls on the 17th, and then on the 22nd we have the Sun moving into Leo and Venus retrograde all starts on the same day as well. So the 17th and the 22nd are two power days happening in the week, happening in the month, and these energy points are going to represent a turning point, a turning shift in the energy of the year. And what we have coming up is a lot more retrograde energy, which is that slowdown energy I spoke about, and a lot more energy that's requiring us to bring an end to big karmic cycles that we've been working on. I don't want to overload it too much because the energy of this week is nice, and I don't want you to start to have to think about all the big things that are on the way where we might be feeling some big karmic cycles coming to a completion point, and we might be feeling a lot of heart healing stuff coming up with Venus retrograde. That's not this week. We are still sitting in the sweet spot. And yes, even though by the end of this week, if you are a little cosmic sensitive, you might start to feel hints of that, hints of a karmic cycle wrapping up, hints of some heart healing, hints of some stagnation energy coming in. While you might feel that, for the most part, and probably for most of us, this week is a sweet spot week. So I want you to use it. Don't worry about that other stuff. I want you to use it, really use it to nourish, recharge, rest, look after yourself, practice some self-love, practice some self-care. That is how you're going to work best with the energy of this week. And if you do have something that you want to get done, and something that you want to check off your to-do list before we start to get into this retrograde territory, I suggest that you work from a place of inner knowing rather than fretting or rushing or trying to get everything done as quickly as possible. Try to move from a place of inner knowing. Try to wait for the right action to come up and out rather than you forcing it. Something to think about as you move through your week. How can you create a little more ease around the things that you want to get done? How can you create a little more flow when it comes to making decisions and taking action in your life? So, something to think about. As I said, enjoy this sweet spot week. You can find more, your full forecast, everything about the upcoming lunar node change and Venus retrograde. You can find all of it at foreverconscious.com. I'm Tanaaz. Thank you so much.